Let's take you live now to the High Court in Pretoria, where Tumelo Madlala seems to be contradicting the evidence before the police. Madlala was in the house when the former football captain Senzo Meyiwa was shot and killed in 2014. They were at Kelly Khumalo's Foslor's home. Advocate Zandile Mshololo, who represents accused number 5, has been cross-examining Madlala, Meyiwa's best friend, this afternoon. Our reporter Silindelo Masikane is following the trial, joining us now live from the court. Good afternoon, Silindelo. Thanks for joining us here on Today. Well, the day beginning with a continuation of the cross-examination of Tumelo Madlala by Titi Tobane, the other defense lawyer who represents accused 1 to 4. And then this afternoon, we saw Advocate Mshololo, representing accused number 5, taking over the cross-examination. Take us through some of the highlights.
Yeah, an interesting day once more here in the North Gauteng High Court, Bradan, where in the morning we saw Titi Tobane wrapping up his cross-examination, where towards the end he started putting on record the versions of the accused in terms of where they were at the time of Meyiwa's killing. All of them, of course, from 1 to 4, denying that they were anywhere near the Foslor's home. At least 3 of the accused claiming that they were incarcerated at the time, and accused 2, of course, Bangani Danzi, claiming that he was at work at the time of Senzo Meyiwa's killing, and in fact was arrested in Rustenburg. So we're now moving on, of course, to Advocate Zandile Mshololo for accused number 5, and she's just begun in earnest, really, her cross-examination of Tumelo Madlala's testimony, but it's already getting quite interesting and quite heated. In isiZulu, we actually say because she's really just drilling into some of the inconsistencies in his testimony, also questioning his sobriety, his level of, at the time, in terms of how sober he and the others were, and saying that their statements simply cannot be taken into consideration because they were drinking, and there's a possibility that they may have been drunk. So let's just take a listen, Bradan, in terms of some of that cross-examination that we've started hearing from Advocate Mshololo.
At the time when the incident took place in this matter, when you identified the intruder, you were all drunk inside the house.
Ngesikhathi kwenzeka lesehlakala ngesikhathi ke ukwazi ukuthi u-identify yena le muntu oyewangena endlini, ngesilungu bathi intruder, beniphuzile nonke ngaphakathi endlini.
Besiphuzile but hayi ukuthi besidakiwe.
Yes, we consumed alcohol, but it doesn't mean that we were drunk.
We can't deny that.
Ngiyakuphikisa lokho.
Ngiyakuphikisa because ngangibona izinto ezinjalo bengangidaywa ngengibone ukuthi.
I'll deny that because I could see other things that transpired. If I was that drunk, I could not have seen them.
The cans that are depicted there, they are not the true reflection of the empty cans you had consumed inside the house.
Namaken akhonjwa esithombeni akusisi isithombo seqiniso sama cans lawo eniwaphuzile lapha phakathi endlini.
Yeah,
that's correct.
So it means they had been removed. The cans you had consumed inside the house, they had been removed by the time when the police arrived.
So that's just some of the cross-examination that's just begun by Advocate Zandile Mshololo, but to unpack some of what we've seen today, because earlier on we actually had a heated exchange between Titi Tobane as well as Judge Chifiwa Maumela. I want to bring in legal expert Mr. Elton Hart from the UJ Law Clinic. I do hope you can hear me now. Mr. Hart, let's just start off with the cross-examination of what we're seeing so far. We have Advocate Zandile Mshololo questioning Tumelo Madlala's sobriety, but not only that, she seems to be trying to show the court that Tumelo Madlala is not completely honest in his testimony, because in a few of the questions he simply refuses to answer them. For example, when it comes to how much he was paid for the Netflix documentary, he doesn't want to tell the court how much it was, and also painting a picture of Tumelo Madlala as being someone who seemingly used his friend's death to get a quick paycheck. What do you make of this?
Obviously, if I look at how Tumelo Madlala was testifying throughout his entire examination and cross-examination, more specifically, you can see he's an evasive witness. And for me, that should already speak to the credibility. Because if one says, like Titi Tobani yesterday asked him questions about when did he leave Durban, what time did he arrive in Joburg, and he was evasive in his answers to say that he didn't look at the time, he didn't look at that. But when asked in examination in chief, he was clear to say that the second intruder, he had a hat on, he had short dreadlocks, he had a caramel jacket. He can remember those things so vividly. But when he was asked, when did he travel, like just a couple of months ago, he can't remember. But 8 years ago, he can. It seems like his memory, when you ask him about things that happened longer ago, he can remember them very clearly. But when it comes to things that just happened like recently, he can't. So that to me already speaks to this person is not open and honest to court. And then the court should now approach his evidence with caution. And that already shows that there is certain inconsistencies and he's altering his versions to suit the narrative that he's trying to portray to court as to what happened in the house as he goes along, as he's being now cornered in cross-examination. And I mean, Netflix, that video came out just before the commencement of the trial. It's like a couple of months ago. How can you say, you would know that I was offered like 100,000 rand or 200,000, not to the exact same, but you at least can say that. And for me, Madlala is now, it's clear that he is not telling the truth to the court. He's not taking the court into his confidence, and he's not giving the court the information that the court needs to make a just verdict and give justice to the Meyiwa family.
Let's talk about the sobriety of those who were in the house. Advocate Zandile Mshololo, she brought up a photo taken from the crime scene that only shows that 2 cans were recovered from the crime scene. But Tumelo Madlala himself saying he at least had about 4 or 5 cans of beer on that day. And it seems Mshololo has in fact shown the court that certainly there was some tampering or some cleaning involved at the crime scene.
Yes, and thus we can connect to that theory, and that's the time when Advocate Tefu was still on the case, where he said that he made certain revelations in court where he said that there was tampering with the crime scene. And now, Tumelo Madlala now gave the court damning evidence to say that, listen, we drank more alcohol than what is portrayed in the pictures. And the forensic evidence already now shows that this is what they got. So the only inference the court can draw from this is now that there was evidence that was removed or somebody tampered with the crime scene in between the time that they left with Senzo to go to the hospital to seek help and the time that the forensic investigators came on the scene. So clearly, that already, then that's now already destruction 101 for the state's case, because now you can already say what you found on the crime scene is not a true reflection of what was there. And if there was tampering with the evidence, then you already have a problem. It means that that site was never secured. So certain things went in and out, and all the evidence would not be before court. So that for me, it's already a serious blow to the state's case, and I don't know how they're going to recover from that, because Tumelo Madlala, who's now one of their star witnesses, already said that we drank more, there was more empty cans, and he at least had 4, and there's only 2 to be shown. So that is a problem to me, and a big, big problem for the state.
Now, let's move just quickly, Mr. Hart, if you can just unpack that heated exchange between Titi Tobane as well as Judge Chifio Maumela. I think you had a moment to see it as well. What do you make of this exchange? It seems Judge Maumela, to me, was trying to stamp his authority in his court.
Yes, obviously he's trying to stamp his authority in court, but obviously also I think he was a little bit unfair towards Titi Tobani in that instance, because the state raised an objection and saying that they are worried about the security of this witness, Tumelo Madlala. But I mean, if one looks at what Titi Tobani was trying to establish yesterday and today again, it was to show to the court that Tumelo Madlala is actually evasive when it comes to time, when he has to make estimations. And it's clear it's an estimation. They will not say, we hold you, but simple things that he has to estimate from when he left and when he arrived. And and then the state objected to saying that people will know. But I mean, even if I say it took me 15 minutes to travel to court, a 15-minute radius around the court can be anywhere from any direction. So for me, that objection, I don't clearly see how the state could object to that, and how a person could clearly say, because we know that the witness needs to stay close to court to come to court, but to go and identify in Gauteng. So for me, I think, and when a person makes an objection, the other party is allowed to respond. So Judge Mahumela, he just listened to the objection from the state, and then he refused for Titi Tubani to respond to the objection, which I think that was unfair. He was supposed to listen to what he has to say and then make a ruling on that, not to say, I'm not going to allow you to respond to the state's objection, and I've made a previous ruling. Because for me, that it seems like, and then it will come across as if he's like pro-state and not being objective in how he's running. And obviously, Titi Tobani was hammering on certain questions and lingering a little bit long on it, but it is right. He can do it as long as if it's not repetitive. So for me, I feel that what Judge Mahumela trying to show off his authority in the court, the way he did it was unfair towards the accused, because in actual effect, Titi Tobani represents the accused persons, and they have the right to be properly and fairly treated in court.
Then quickly, just lastly, Mr. Hart, Advocate Mshololo, making Tumelo Madlala admit that he's never seen her client, that is accused number 5, ever, and that the first time he's seeing him is inside the courtroom. Certainly going to work in her favor in the defense for accused number 5?
Now, obviously, so, because obviously he had sight of the 2 intruders, or the 2 alleged intruders, as the narrative goes, that they say there was 2 alleged intruders. And obviously, also Titi Tobani pointed out to Madlala that accused number 2 never had dreads and those type of things. But him actually saying that he has never seen it, it means that identity of the accused, or some of the accused, is already, and I think she also ventured into say some of the accused, he couldn't even identify them on an ID parade. He never identified it, nobody except accused number 2 in the dock. So identity of the accused becomes then an issue, and if identity is in dispute, then also the court cannot convict them. So I think Advocate Mshololo has got him to a point where now he is now saying that identity, because he was the closest, or he's the one first on of the witnesses that was the closest to these 2 perpetrators that saw their faces, and now he's already saying that, okay, now I place the identity in dispute, because his evidence is now actually doing that when he was asked. So that, I think, it's also one of the major stumbling blocks that the state has to deal with when they come and re-examine him.